Hi there. I wanted to take a few minutes to do a short video on saying no to others in order to say yes to yourself, or setting healthy boundaries, because it's a subject that's been coming up such a lot at the moment for coaching clients. It's a subject that's come up massively for me as well. I've had to learn some significant lessons around this myself, which is why I can hopefully help from a personal and relating experience for people in coaching. Because I've had to learn this the hard way myself. The idea of saying no to others can seem completely alien. If you're anything like me, hello, fellow people pleasers out there. We hate to say no. We think that it means we don't care about others. You might be surprised to hear a video from me about saying no to other people, because I have a big focus on connection with others and caring, and it just sounds like it's somehow selfish, or that's what we've all been brought up to believe. So, a few minutes on why we become people pleasers, or we feel that we're conditioned to care about others rather than ourselves, or before ourselves. What happens to us if we continue to do this and don't put ourselves first? Why we should put ourselves first? What are the benefits of that? How to recognize when you're not being true to yourself and you're putting others always above you. And then how to do it, how to say no. It sounds obvious, it's just one word, but how to start putting that into practice. So, why on earth do we do this? Where does this conditioning come from? I mean, there could be a whole hour-long debate around this. A lot of it is due, well, it's all down usually to our conditioning. We are taught that saying no is selfish, and that we need to put others first. There can be other aspects that come into that, particularly your culture. I don't want to start comparing different cultures too much, but certainly I think that the English culture where I'm from certainly plays a big role in this. We're terribly polite, and we don't like to offend people, and we can often go round the houses to be polite, and actually sometimes other cultures can be like, wow, those people, they're not being very clear. So it's sort of muddies the communication. But yeah, there's potentially an element of culture there, and without wanting to bring gender into it too much, but certainly from my own personal perspective as a woman, I find that there can be that conditioning of being expected to be very caring and to put others first and to put yourself last. That's whether you have kids or you don't. There is just this kind of caring persona that we're expected to have. And of course, we're nice people. We don't want to let people down, right? Also, we identify with that caring as being that behavior, which is what it is. We identify with that as who we are. So we confuse the action or the behavior with the person, as often causes so much confusion in life. So we think that if we say no, therefore we're not a caring person, which isn't true. And also, sounds a bit icky, but we also like to be seen as caring. And this was a difficult payoff for me to learn about. I was like, no, it's coming purely from a caring place. But actually, sometimes we do, because we identify with being a caring person. We like to be seen as caring. Who doesn't, right? But of course, it's not sustainable. Not in a way, I don't mean that being caring is not sustainable. I mean in a way of completely putting other people first and forgetting about ourselves is not sustainable. So what happens if we continue? Well, again, I know from personal experience that we get exhausted. It's draining if we're always putting everybody first. And this is really important for me in my role as a coach, and for any of you out there who have kind of caring or healing professions. If you're constantly putting others first and not taking that time to replenish yourself, they say you can't pour from an empty cup. You have nothing to give. So if you're trying to please all the people all the time, as we know, that's futile. It's an impossible task, and it leads to us being very drained. And that, if that continues, that can lead to us becoming injured or ill. Our immune system gets run down because we're just not taking care of ourselves. And that's not good. When it gets to that stage, that you really need to do something about it. I had a year where I just kept getting injured, and it was like kind of, the universe or whatever saying to me, come on, you've had the kind of signs, now you're not taking any notice, right? You're really going to get, as Oprah says, the kind of smack upside your head, which is the, come on, you need to stop doing this. We're going to give you bigger signs until you do something about it. So I think we can get, we can get injured, we can get ill from that exhaustion, from putting everybody else first. Also, it starts to build resentment, which isn't nice. We start thinking, oh, I'm being nice. Maybe in a relationship, maybe in a romantic relationship, oh, I'm being caring. Why aren't they reciprocating? We think that we're giving unconditional love, but actually we're keeping score. And we start to get resentful. I'm putting them first, and what we're expecting, our kind of unwritten contract is, oh, well, we expect to be put first. I'll take care of all of your needs as long as you take care of mine. And putting the key to your own happiness in somebody else's pocket is never gonna be a good way forward. So we start to build resentment, which is no good for any relationships. Also, we're not sending a very good message to ourselves. We're sending a message to ourselves, you're not important, everybody else is more important, which can really drain our confidence, and also not being true to ourselves can lead to all sorts of problems, massive issues, not just, physical, but mental and emotional issues as well. Depression and just burying things and not being true to ourselves is one of, I think, the fundamental causes of a lot of problems in life. So giving that message to ourselves is not a good thing, that we don't matter. Also, it sounds a bit awful to say, but there are people out there who will take advantage. And actually, who blames them? It takes two people to make a doormat. And this was a tough one for me to learn. It's all very well to say, oh, those partners were assholes or whatever. When actually, it takes two people to make that doormat, and one person has to lay themselves down to be trodden on. And it's not, you're inviting not a good situation if you do that. You're teaching people effectively how to treat you by what you're allowing and by putting yourself down like that. So those are the reasons why we should not put everybody first before ourselves. So why should we put ourselves first? What are the benefits to saying no to others, to establishing healthy boundaries in relationships? And that's all relationships. So first of all, it's not selfish. It's actually really selfless. I alluded to it earlier. It's about taking care of yourself so that you can be there for others. If you don't take care of yourself, you've got nothing left to give. You give and give and give to everyone. It's like they always say, on an aeroplane, they talk about putting the seatbelt on the child that you're traveling with before you put it on yourself. Sorry, not the seatbelt, the oxygen mask. Because how can you help anyone if you're so incapacitated that you have nothing to give? So actually, it is a really selfless thing. Take care of yourself and then you can take care of others. Also, it leads to better or clearer communication with others. People know where they stand. If you say you can't do something and then you kind of back down and you're always saying yes, people will push that, and there's no safety, particularly for children as well. If you're bringing up children and you don't set healthy boundaries with them, it's a recipe for disaster for you, because they're going to keep pushing those boundaries, but also it's a recipe for disaster for them. They grow up feeling very unsafe. It's that those boundaries are a container for them, knowing what they can and can't do, and if there are no boundaries, it's terrifying. So it really leads to clearer communication when we set healthy boundaries. I know it sounds, again, completely counterintuitive, but people know where they stand with us. And also, again, that resentment isn't building up, which, again, leads to happier relationships. It's also better for our health. I've alluded to physical, mental and emotional health. For me, a big example of this was turning work down. So, working for myself, stepping out of the corporate world a good few years ago now, and doing what I love. At first, there was a temptation to do everything, again, to try and be all things for all people. But the kind of evidence that I found was, when I turn work down, if I know, oh God, I shouldn't do this, but oh, go on, I need to take the work on, or I don't want to, sorry, but I should. I feel I should. I don't want to let this person down. Or when you work for yourself, of course, there's that fear of finances never being, you can't take anything for granted. But when I've actually said no, it actually leads to better outcomes for me, and actually potentially for the client as well. So, and yeah, I've said before, it's it's really important not to have resentment build up in relationships from you saying yes where you really mean no. So how do you recognize this kind of people-pleasing tendency or looking after others before yourself? Two things: feeling and language. So your feelings are really important. When you start feeling tired, you're exhausted, you're drained, you're feeling resentment, frustration, and irritation. These are actually really good things. They're like a kind of warning sign saying, something's going wrong here, something's not right. They're like a sign to yourself. It's like you're not being true to yourself. So follow your feelings, really try and tap into your feelings. We spend a lot of time up here. If you're anything like me, I used to be all in here and never in here, or my gut either. So it's about tuning into your feelings. And also language is really telling. Having studied NLP to cause that's neuro-linguistic programming, to master practitioner level, it's something I really, really notice. If I hear clients saying key things like I should, or I'd better do that, or I have to do that, massive warning sign. It's they're not being true to themselves. It's not that they want to, it's they feel they should. So again, if I find myself doing that as well, it's a sign to say take a step back and look at what you're doing. So it's very easy for me to say this, but not so easy to do it, right? If you're someone who this doesn't come naturally to, and who comes naturally to say yes all the time, it can be really difficult to know how to take the first steps. So for me, the key things are, it's about pausing each time, not going on autopilot and doing the shoulds. It's pausing and going, do I really want to do this? Or am I saying I'll do it because I feel I should do it? You might want to give yourself time. Say in a work environment, you might want to buy yourself some time with a kind of holding statement. So if someone asks you to do something and you're not quite comfortable yet with saying, no, I can't do this, I've got a lot of work on, or I can do it then, or whatever. If you need to buy a little bit of time, you can say things like, oh, okay, thanks for asking. I'll have a look and I'll come back to you. That's in a work environment, that's in any environment. So just pause rather than going off on the automatic behaviour. Those neural pathways have built up so much, the saying yes pathway, that sometimes we just knee jerk and we just do that without even thinking about it. So pause, think about it, holding statement if necessary. Also, recognizing that this doesn't make you a bad person is really important. It's not your identity. Just because you say no to somebody in order to take care of yourself at some point doesn't make you a bad person. You're still caring. You're just applying the level of self-care that you would to everybody else to yourself. I find this astonishing. There are people out there, we're often in coaching, we do an exercise to look at values, and people who value caring and kindness are often caring and kind to everybody except for themselves. So you're literally just applying that same level of self-care that you would to everybody else to yourself. And also another way to do this is practice. We're not going to get this right first time, so practice is a key word. Don't beat yourself up if you end up doing something that you start getting a bit grumpy with yourself because you think, oh God, I wish I hadn't agreed to that. It's about taking small steps as well, kind of working that muscle, growing, building that muscle, as it were. So are there small things you can practice on so that then you can build up, you can start pushing that comfort zone, and you can get used to saying no. So even with silly trivial things, probably the sillier the better, because then it helps you to laugh at yourself. So if you find yourself saying yes on autopilot, all I can say is please take a moment to pause, take a step back, ask yourself if you really want to do it, or if this is a should, if this is something that you feel you should do. And practice saying no for your good, and ultimately for the good of others, because you can't be there for anyone if you're not there for yourself, if you're so depleted. And don't beat yourself up. Don't let your inner critic get the better of you. If you are you're trying this and you take a step back, you're only human. So I hope that's helped. I went on for a few minutes longer than I'd hoped, but I really hope this information is useful. I've written a blog post on this topic, so I'll put that in the link below. My website is www.joeritchie.com. I'll pop that in the links below as well. I run coaching sessions and workshops as well, one-to-one, group, business and personal. So I'll pop that all in the information below. I also run workshops. I'm a licensed trainer for the Feel the Fear, for a licensed Feel the Fear trainer for the Susan Jeffers organisation. Susan wrote the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So I've often got workshops coming up. I've got one coming up soon. So again, check my website for that, or check the International Susan Jeffers organisation website. So I hope this has been helpful, and good luck in practicing setting healthy boundaries and saying no to others, because it really is important to help you say yes to yourself. Thank you.